Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Are there any questions or statements from this weekend? I know we put a lot out there, and our pastor put a lot out there yesterday too. Anybody have any questions or statements from this weekend before we get started?
Yeah, I was still on the A census yesterday.
Yes, and it sort of it evolved. Just the discussion of it. It went from everything this weekend to some workplace environment and evolving to the identity and what Elohim looks like. But it was a lot of discussion that went into it yesterday, and we started talking about healing and just how we've looked at success in the past. So we covered a little bit of everything this weekend, but it was still kind of based around that, and just it's more so what things start. What does Elohim look like? If no questions, I'll get started here. And one of the things we definitely looked at yesterday and this weekend, and wanted to kind of build on, was just our impression of success over time, and what does that really mean to us as far as how we interact and what we do out socially, and how we affect others, how we connect with others. So I want to look at the success a little more, and then start off by talking about the healing that we spoke about yesterday, and just really why that was so important. I felt like we put a little bit out there, and all to kind of help me just tie the two together between the success and healing, and what we're trying to the message trying to talk about. So really, if there's no other questions, I'll start off with just kind of recapping the healing that we spoke about yesterday, and really looking at it from the spiritual and the mental aspect of it, not so much physical healing, but of the body, but just really how our minds, our souls, and our hearts how we need to be healed, and how we need to begin the healing process, and really how that affects all of us together. And so one of the things I think I said this weekend that brought a question up was, healing has to begin with each individual, and then it kind of goes into a collective thing of what's the next step. And that beginning is really how we process the event that causes the pain. And one of the things we talked about was the shooting, but just making it a little more on the individual purpose. Just imagine if you come in encounter with someone who's just kind of verbally abusive to you, or they just really have the ability to really frustrate you, and this sort of causes you pain. And when I said the healing can only begin from us first, that's really just saying, how are you going to process that? How are you going to move forward with it? And one of the things that we talked about was that first step was just going back to the identity when someone has wronged you, or there's just a scar there. You have to do it yourself first, because depending on how you handle it and depending on how you process it determines the next step forward. And what I mean by that is, like, we can't shape the we can't shape the healing or the aspect of what we want to happen. We can only begin to process it for ourselves, and then that healing takes place. And that's just to ensure that we don't come out of it with any kind of prejudice. And when you're dealing with just the eighth sense and understanding this whole thing that we've been talking about, all the senses, and you really have to remove the prejudice from something so that we don't try to shape the healing. And what I mean by that is that can entail forgiveness, how we can't put a term on how we're going to forgive someone. We can't put stipulations on it. And so that's why it's got to begin with each individual. Now, we talk collectively as the group too, how we're going to forgive and begin the healing process that way. But as an individual, you don't want to be in a position where you have to shape it or forgive and begin the healing process with stipulations, depending on if you get something in return or if something is returned to you or justice is done. We only have to begin that healing process as the individual. And that was one of the things that we summed up yesterday. And because no matter how we look at it, the healing, it's growth. And what you heal with is that expansion that we've talked about. So that growth and expansion comes, and we can't restrict it. We can't dictate, how it should go, who it should go to. And I'm hoping that all ties together with what we've been talking about before, is that the enlightenment we get and the thing that we really call success. I think Audrey did a good job yesterday. There's the European success that they view that as, okay, wealth, great health, a lot to show, a lot of accomplishments to show. And then the African interpretation of it is more along the lines of community, what we're doing for each other, how are we thriving together, and how are things going for everyone included. We talked about the term Ubuntu several weeks ago about we all should have, if one of us is moving forward, we all should be moving forward together. And so one of the questions I posed yesterday was what do we view the opposite of success was? And the opposite of success in the European mindset is someone who fails, who doesn't want to try anything again because they failed, and they view that failure as the opposite of success. But really, that failure is all growth. That's the growth that we go through, the things that kind of make us. And the true opposite of success is someone who's not willing to try, not willing to give their energy to any kind of situation. They're just wanting to sit on the sidelines and hope that someone else takes care of it, but, not getting involved. And so I hope I'm doing a good recap of what we talked about as far as healing and some of the things we brought up yesterday before we get rolling. Any questions or comments before that? I seemed a little scattered, but that's sort of what we talked about yesterday in regards of healing and success. But I wanted to kind of expand on that today. Any thoughts or questions before we get going?
Good evening, everyone. One of the things I want to add is, and I hope you can bridge it in, or someone can bridge it in. When you look at success and when you look at healing, the most successful person out here is the one that can minimize their pain. And that's not my saying. That comes from a German philosopher by way of Poland called Arthur Schopenhauer. And when I focus, and Sigmund Freud studied up under him. And when I look at that, when you can minimize your pain, just because you can don't necessarily mean you should. And one of the things I appreciate about Tim Smith, the banker, if you go to him and you want to get a 10-year-old BMW, Tim will ask you, Who's your mechanic? That's a BMW. He will tell you this is what the annual maintenance is on this vehicle. If you're getting a 10-year-old vehicle, it's used, it's as is, there's no warranty. Why don't you look at a brand new Toyota Camry? And what Tim is doing with the customer, he's minimizing, my opinion, his or her pain or forecasting. So when I look at success, the one who can minimize their pain, because you're going to have some pain out here. You a parent or a grandparent, you're going to experience some pain. And if you're a child, you got to realize that you cause your parents and grandparents some pain. So I just look at success as learning to minimize your pain. Thank you.
Esty, are you talking?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're asking now. I guess you may say, why are we bringing this up with the 8 cents, and what does it have to do, and why? And one of the reasons I stated yesterday is that as we kind of get to the end of the understanding of this, there's a certain amount of power and that comes with what we're understanding now. A lot of responsibility. And so when you start talking about making people aware of who they are, being honest and connecting with people, is a certain responsibility that we have to basically do it in a sense without judging, without harming them in any way. And so I really wanted to bring this healing and the success up as a way for us just to understand the power that we actually have and the responsibility that we have when we start connecting to folks, because as we make people aware of who they are, the last thing that you want to do is interfere with their growth or become a poor reflection of what the identity should look like. And I think the last 2 sessions, Pastor's done a good job of just talking about, down to the smallest level, what Elohim looks like, what the interactions look like with people. And so when we start talking about healing, there's been situations where, and I'm not saying this body or in general, but when you start talking about just in religion, everyone wants someone to be forgiven or blessed in a certain way, but with stipulations, and you can't do that. So as we walk down this journey, we start talking about real healing. We're talking about a commitment that we're going to have to just beginning that with ourselves and the way we're going to process it. And you process it, and then that healing comes from a place of being Elohim. It comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of empathy, forgiveness, whatever it takes. We have to be at that point, and we have to be that so that everything goes forward according to what the universe has in store for us instead of trying to shape it. And so I just want to get us to a point of understanding that we have a lot of responsibility and power. And at the same time, we have to also look at, George said pain, but look at success in a way that it's supposed to be and not what we've seen through the earthly realm as far as accomplishments and most successful person who's achieved this and has a status and how he's looked at. The success is definitely geared towards things that you want to cherish. You want people to connect, the moving together. And as we move together, success is really enlightenment. Enlightenment requires us to be fully committed to changing, evolving as things evolve, and letting go of fixed ways. And so if you're not healed in a sense, it's going to be hard for you to say, okay, I'm going to let go of certain things I like, certain things I'm fixated on. If you're not healed or able to move beyond those, you're going to get to that point that we call stuck, and that's sort of a different stuck. And so that's why it's important for us to share this commitment, because at some point in time, we're going to have to express that. We're going to have to actually deal with people's real success and deal with some failures that people perceive as a step down, but really that's an area for us to help them grow and become aware of who they are. And I'm saying all to say that the best way and the easiest way to help someone become aware of who they are is helping them heal through something they perceive as a failure, but actually that's the opportunity for us to help them grow. And this the ultimate example that Jesus did. He took people from all types of walks and different values, social status. And he had his disciples, and he also dealt with people, and he made them aware of who they were, what was inside of them. So during that process of making people aware, I'm just letting us know, and it's called that there's going to be a period or need for healing, and how we help them process that healing also helps us build them up and help them go through this process of discovering who they are. So the path to awareness in a lot of cases deals with healing in the beginning. Does that make sense? And I was trying to tie it in yesterday, but and then this pollen's got my voice a little bit too. But does that make sense? When you say we're going to help someone become aware of who they are, typically it's going to come to a place of them in a spot of perceived failure or a setback, and it's going to be our job to make them aware by first, guiding them through this and saying it's not a setback, it's an opportunity for growth. And so every time we say we're going to make someone or help someone become aware of who they are, it really begins with, in some cases, some sort of healing. And then for each of us to get to that point of on that path of aligning ourselves with who we are, that's why the healing has to start within first. And it keeps, and I keep seeing this this core, and the core is hot and it's warm, and everything kind of comes, all the energy comes from that core. And that's just this whole lesson. It seems like it's just been about our inner core and all the energy and things that come from it, because none of this is done without us putting our energy in the right place. And it's all when you start talking about success and failure, or not even willing to try, all those things kind of dictate, it's like everything else. Where are we investing our energy? Where are we spending our time and our focus? And so as we help become more aware as individuals, and we help other individuals become aware, it's going to take a little bit out of us. It's going to take a little energy. And we talked about it yesterday, but there's always a replenishment there. There's always enough of us to go forward. But just know that as we become more aware of who we are, it takes a certain amount of spiritual healing too, because you have to move beyond certain things that have kind of gotten you stuck or restricted. And so that's why yesterday, I guess, and I was trying to pull together that healing and that true vision of success being enlightenment. And that enlightenment is always a constant commitment to evolve, because we can't get stuck. We can't get stuck in this mindset. We can't let our thoughts get stuck. It's a constant feeding. It's a constant evolving. It's a constant meditation. And that all these things are just a commitment to change. So as we let go of the fixed ways of religion, we let go of the fixed ways of the ego, we let go of exterior things that kind of force us to be fixated on one thing, let it go and begin to become aware. Does that make sense? Where I was trying to really get a lot of that out yesterday, but we had so much of a good discussion in the direction we went yesterday that I didn't feel like I got a chance to really state that whole connection of the healing and success.
I think that it does, because before you can make someone aware of who they are, you have to know who you are. And the way you embrace who you are, once you learn that, is being healed from the hurt that we have experienced prior to knowing who we are. And the hurt that I'm speaking of is not necessarily physical, is not necessarily emotional, but I'm talking about also the injuries that come from having been taught from the scriptures, but teaching it in a way that is manipulative. We have to be healed from that as well. Yesterday, when we were on, one of the questions was about when we were on with the people from California. One of the questions was about how do we feel about what happened, and Barbara's response was, "We're not angry. We've grown beyond anger." That's healing, and simply because we are healed, we are able to successfully negotiate this journey and reach people where they are, regardless of what they understand or don't understand. The healing gives us not only this kind of authority, but it gives us the enlightenment to be able to do it. That's the success that I see you speaking of. The numbers do not breed success. I remember having pastoring small groups of people, and I have gained more insight from Greater New Faith and Foundation of Faith than I have from any place I ever attended church, pastored, or sat under teachings from some of the renowned biblical scholars in this country. So it doesn't come from numbers. It doesn't come from intellect. It comes from, as you said, enlightenment, so that we see everything as an opportunity to persevere and to be a mirror for those who don't know who they are. When they see us, they should see Elohim. And I do believe that most of the people we come in contact with do see Elohim. And the reason I say that is because so many of you have said to me that strangers come up and talk to you, and they'd be telling you about what's happening to them personally. Strangers seeking advice about things they're dealing with. And regardless of who you're with, they come to you. That in itself speaks volumes about the soul recognizing Elohim. I believe also that this was the journey of the woman with the issue of blood, because the scripture says that she had tried everything, which means that she had gone in every direction, but she saw something different in Jesus. And the thing that's different that she saw was Elohim, that energy of deliverance that she saw. The other thing about it is that the words that Jesus spoke had no meaning if there was not attached to it the energy of our Creator. You can say the words all day, but if the energy of our Creator is not attached to them, and if your desire is not to understand them, but be entertained by them, then regardless of the power with which we speak, those seeking entertainment will remain where they are. And there are times when they do not feel like they can leave the places where they are or walk away from the teachings or the lack thereof of what they're receiving, because they are seeing with their eyes. They're seeing that I grew up in this place. They're seeing my mom and dad were in this place. They're seeing with their eyes the funerals held in this place. They're seeing with their eyes the various plots that churches have. I've had people to say to me that we didn't have any place to have a funeral. And I told them, well, we were not building a funeral home. We are dealing with the living. That's the attitude of some people, having a place to have a funeral and not realizing that these dead people, dead loved ones, have become a source of profit for churches. And until they see the manipulation themselves, they will not seek anything else. They will not be healed. Physician, heal thyself. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I was going to ask you, Pastor, just so I can demonstrate this or illustrate it, just to use you as an example of just the things you've told us in the past. And this is, I just want to make the connection here so everybody sees how the healing is relating into what we've been talking about, the eighth sense. So we've talked about using our memories to really help us understand the growth. And you go back down your timeline so that you can see your growth and you see your journey towards Elohim. And the reason that the healing is at the last portion of this is that when you go back on your timeline, and if you look at yourself, James Richard, your journey and some of the things you shared with us in the ministry, when you reflect over your timeline and you see the growth that you've made, and if you reflect on some of the things that you encountered on your journey to the pastor you are now, to the person you are now, and you allow those things, the old wounds, to influence you in a way or to alter your thoughts, those are things that can get you stuck in this period in time. And so as we use our memories as strength, we also have to be careful when we go back and scroll through those memories that we don't allow some of the old wounds to interfere or to influence our judgment, because those things, even though you're reflecting back, can be external influence. So that's why it's important to, like, as we go back, there's just something that you've gone through, to make sure that the necessary healing is done there. Because when we go back into our memories, there's old pains, things we've seen relatives go through, memories of how we're treated. And it's important for us, as we understand who we are, to also heal those things within inside of us so that they're not influencing what you're seeing going forward. And so that's why when I mentioned healing and the eighth sense, is we lean on that memory, so we lean on that timeline of our growth don't confuse some of the past wounds or pains or let them interfere with it. That's why it's important for us to be healed. And so I just know you told us certain things on your spiritual journey and how, whether it be the association of things, how were treated in the church, as you reflect back in your growth, those are things that, I know that you moved beyond and healed yourself from, so they don't influence your walk as Elohim now. So that's why I was trying to tie in
Okay.
what the important healing is for us.
Well, not only did my encounters change me, but my response to them also had an influence on the people who experienced my response. And it changed their perspective of things as well. And you mentioned several times about getting stuck, and that is important that we don't. However, I don't want us to think that you can't get stuck now based on what we're teaching. You can get stuck with the eighth sense. You can get stuck on looking for it, on trying to figure out how to use it. It's no different than your sense of smell or your sense of taste. You don't spend any time wondering how you're going to know when your sense of taste or your sense of smell is going to function for you. You don't spend any time about that. Yet, when you taste something, you don't think about it being a sense. You just taste it. And the eighth sense has to be the same way. You don't spend any time wondering how you're going to know when it's necessary to use it. If you are doing that, then you have missed the understanding of the eighth sense. You live it, you experience it, and you don't make a checklist to understand whether or not you are experiencing it. You put it in the same place where you put the sense of smell. And one of the reasons I can say that is because not only do I reflect on pain and the growth from it, I also am reflective on some of the things that I did, some of the things I said, and I do know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was that my eighth sense in action, and I didn't realize it. So now that we understand what it is that we are experiencing when we say that we knew a police was around the corner, or when we say we have a gut feeling, now that we understand what that is, it is not saying to us, check yourself to make sure you're doing it. What it's saying to us is this: expand from seeing the police around the corner. Listen to your soul. Listen to your soul and see with your eye, and you will understand the experiences that you are having, or the experiences of the eighth sense, but you will not know it until you look at it retrospectively. And that's a good thing, because it does not give us any sense of superiority over anyone. One of the biggest faults I found with the charismatic church, and still find the same thing within those ranks, is I come from a word church and you don't. That's give a sense of superiority. I'm blessed and highly favored. A sense of superiority. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Sense of superiority. You don't have to do that. So I suppose what I am saying to us is live your life and let your desire handle everything else. Your desire is enough for you to experience everything that you were created to experience. And I pray that you will hold on to that. Your desire is all you need to experience everything that you were created to experience. So get rid of your checklist. get rid of, am I doing it now? Am I not doing it? That doesn't matter. What matters is your desire. Any questions or comments about that?
Hey, Rick. Hey, Rick.
Yes,
This
sir.
is Charles. I got three things is gonna be in this. One of them is when Jesus said, I only do what I hear my Father see to do. And the other is I only, what is it? How'd it go? Me and the Father are one. And the last one, if you believe like I believe. Explain those three right there with this. Greater work. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hello?
Yeah, hey, Charles.
Sorry, Charles, I was on mute. I understand what you're saying. The first one was, I do what I see my Father say. Jesus is speaking of the third eye, and he's speaking of an internal experience. When he says that, all he's saying is, I see what a wound says, which means that he is also speaking about being one with the universe and receiving the energy and the message that's being sent to him for him to teach, for him to experience. The next one was the next one was what was the second one, Charles?
I keep forgetting every time I'm speaking. I only do what my Father says. And my mind is going faster than I can speak. I know the last one is, go ahead.
Someone else to remind us of what you said second.
The second one is my Father and I are one.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. What he's saying when he says that my Father and I are one, he's actually saying that there is no difference in the one who created me. There's no difference in me and the origin of my existence. That's what he's saying. So that should not be a problem with us understanding that he is speaking to us as well when he says that, because he says, not only will we do what he did, but greater things than these we shall do.
I thought of that too.
Now the third one is what?
If you believe like I believe.
Okay, what he's saying is, if you have confidence in what the universe offers, not only will you be able to accomplish what I have accomplished, but greater things you will be able to accomplish. Jesus is saying, now you will be able to bring balance to this earth. You will, if you have the confidence in the universe that I have, the greater things will be one of which bringing balance to this earth, or getting beyond the anger and the fears, being healed from all the setbacks and pain that you endured, and becoming the essence of your creation, becoming the image that you were created in. And when that happens, the greater things fall into place, because then we can see what we are created because we are creators. We are created in this realm of the earth, an environment that is already in the realm of the spirit. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Question?
sir.
Okay. Anyone want to elaborate on that? I'd appreciate it if you would. Or raise questions or make comments. Okay.
I think one thing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing that we can see here in the last 2 years, and when it comes to all these things sort of manifesting and the unknown is with this whole COVID situation and how we started off dealing with it and then working through it, and how we are now as far as how our attitudes have shifted or expanded. And it's just been a great example of that expansion, because you take a situation that's dire and a lot of people, suffered and lost, but at the same time, there's just been a necessary growth there when it talks about becoming one, and when we look at our identity and how we have, grown through it. And I just, just sitting there thinking, I was like, we're living through a period of expansion, even though there was so much restriction and so much unknown and so much in question going on. It's allowed us to expand, become closer and just understand everything you said even more, because of just of what we we never thought in our lifetime. I guess we've always heard, but to actually see it now and deal with it, what they're dealing with, and just actually, I was just thinking, like, looking over the expansion over the last 2 years, how all of these things have become more relevant to us, and we've actually got our own example of our expansion and growth, and having to deal with tragedy, but at the same time, the amount of growth spiritually and the expansion that's taking place has really allowed us to comprehend even more that my Father and I are one, if that makes sense.
It does. There was someone that's getting ready to speak. If you were, please go.
This is Barbara. I was just simply going to comment on something in the heels of what ST was saying about the eighth sense and what happened during the pandemic. We used to meet in our own little settings, etc. Although we came together as a group occasionally, but what this has done is it's shown us more than ever that we are connected to each other, regardless of whether we see each other with our eyes or not, because the sight is at a deeper level, and the pandemic just simply showed us that in much more detail. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Not only that, Ms. Barbara, but every time that I'm looking at the opportunity for us to gather, I begin to see reports where the numbers are not creeping up; they are flying, and no one is really paying them any attention. If they are, they're not making it public. So I do believe that this has granted us an opportunity to teach us how to see with our eye as opposed to our eyes. And it also have shown us, as you said, that we have been woven together into a tapestry of not only respect, but a tapestry that has covered the world. And what I mean by that is this. Jesus did what Jesus did with 12 men and him 13. I did not realize it until a few years afterwards that there were 12 teachers and me 13. I did not choose that to be. And when Carla transitioned, I did not say anything to LaVon about being the teacher. She stepped in that slot. I didn't do it. The Creator did it. I do believe also that a large amount of our understanding is coming from people like Carla, who knew what our desires or who experienced those desires. I believe that she is one of the ancestors who helped guide us on this journey towards becoming one with the universe. And having said all of that, there was a time when I had some trepidation about saying what I'm about to say, but I don't anymore. We are the covering for this world. If we don't stay the course, and I know we will, there will not be a transition from chaos to order. It is incumbent upon us. And that is the reason that we find ourselves experiencing more and more distractions. The people who are on this phone, who are not facilitators, you are a teacher. And your energy, not only does it influence ours, but your energy joins with ours and gives us the power that is necessary to feel the pain of humanity, to know what is needed so that we are able to bring healing to this earth, so that the natural earth its destruction can be reversed, and the consciousness of the earth will be all inclusive, filled with loving kindness, and devoid of hate. Now, I do believe also that the idea of hate and slavery and racism, all those things were orchestrated by our Father for the purpose of giving us the substance that we need in order to bring balance, to bring healing, to be creators. Because we have to create a different environment in order for us to be creators. This is not about bringing some trees into existence. This is about bringing into existence Elohim, the human. It's about creating the human Elohim. That's our charge. And we have not shied away from it. And that is one of the reasons I emphasize so often. Don't have a checklist. Don't try to remember what you're going to do. Just live your life. And your desires are pure. Your desires will be fulfilled. Fulfillment of your desires does not come without distraction, neither do they come without pain. We are going to have to learn to rise above our distractions. There are going to be distractions that's put in our way that's going to sound great. That's going to, but we have to rise above them. There are going to be distractions put in our way that's going to cause our hearts to bleed. We have to rise above it. All of these of which I'm speaking is types of healings that's necessary for us to bring into this earth the human as it was intended to be. Thank you. Unless there are questions or comments, I welcome them.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is GC, and I just want to relate to Pastor what you're saying. You know, my affirmation or an affirmation or declaration that I speak is that I am energy, and I am that I am. And I'm saying it because, if I am what the universe gives us as we receive every day from the sun, as we receive, and that's the SUN. And so with that energy that radiates every day, you know what I mean? It brings a source of healing that I'm able to be enlightened in terms of being able to understand understand that I am. And so I just try to, again, have my deep breathing, meditations, having the opportunity to reflect on what I'm hearing through the creative utterances of the words that are being heard in my ear. And I think all of the senses, especially the eighth sense that ST and we all are learning about, is that there's a spiritual connotation in everything. And so when I can grasp in my mind that I am energy, and we know how energy flows, then healing is taking place. And sometimes whatever that pain might be, you know what I mean? I know that there's a substance from it that helps us to be able to see it through, where we can grow through that experience, but it's still all for the good. So I just wanted to share those thoughts in terms of just being able to realize that every day, energy is being given. Every day, love is being given. And when we can tap into that oneness where, it might not be, myself, that is giving, the healing, but it could come through someone else. It can happen, in another way, but it's happening. So I just wanted to share those thoughts in terms of just being able to appreciate that I am energy. And at the same time, again, I am that I am. I want to share those thoughts. I'm done.
Thank you. Can I add something? When I was talking about what we go through, when I was talking about the distraction we face, I remember when I was asked to go on TBN and told that I'd be a millionaire in a very short period of time, and was offered a check for $100,000 as seed money. That sounds good. It sounds like something that anybody would accept. But my soul rejected it. Every time I was offered, well, with the exception of one anyway, I was offered an opportunity to go to a different congregation with huge salary and potential. My soul said no. And the day that I answered one of the calls and just knew that it was a done deal, the creator stepped in and said no. But the way the creator said no could have been very, very painful if I had allowed it to be. I did not fall prey to the temptations, even though I was done wrong. So what am I saying? If it were not for that particular congregation doing what they did, we would not exist now. Great in Faith, I would not be on the phone with, or the Zoom with them. Foundation of Faith would not even exist. I wouldn't be with them either. The creator knew what it was doing because of not yielding to temptation, not yielding to worldly success, not yielding to opportunity to be a millionaire, not yielding to these things is what gave us the opportunity to be who we are now. And I cherish every hurt, every pain, even though I did not cherish it at that time. I'm very grateful for the pain because it gave me the strength to become who we are. And without that strength, I will be still seeing through my eyes, but seeing nothing but darkness and calling it light. Questions or comments?
It's Ron. I just listened to you and when you started earlier talking, when Ash asked this question, what we have heard is the strength of your memory and what it has led you to. And one of the things we said was you reach a point where you do start to see community, and that's what I hear you're talking about, because all of those things that you described wasn't for Elohim, for God to see what you could do. It was for you. And it also served as a, witness, I guess is the word, for others as well. So I hear what you say. I see the strength of that now. I've listened to this now for a couple of weeks, and this is getting stronger and stronger. At least, I guess my understanding is the understanding where we are with this and where it goes. So each and every one of us takes that journey, and once we come together, I see the strength in that. Yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anyone else?
Pastor, I just wanted to make a comment too. This is Evelyn. Ever since I've been up under your cover and I've seen God move in mysterious ways. And when I was in the religious setting, I didn't see things, a lot of things I wasn't made aware of. But because you have been obedient and done, just, you told us to just watch me, just, you know what I'm saying? And ever since I've been up under your covering, you have made us aware of how God really do things. And I really appreciate that, because you've been our Savior, and I can say that, I can stand on that. You have truly been our Savior, and we have been and we have been each other's Savior, but I have never seen God move the way it moves until I got up under your cover. And I just want you to know, I appreciate that so much. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ditto to what Evelyn said.
I beg your pardon?
I said ditto to what Evelyn said. This is Jackie.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yes,
Pastor, the statement you made a few minutes ago about what did you say? Something about us? Yeah, going from chaos to what did you say? Going from chaos to enlightenment. Is that the statement you made?
Order. From chaos to order.
From chaos to order. Okay, yes. So does that have? So that is one of the reasons why we're in the situation we are now, that we're not in the churches, that we're all, because of the pandemic, that everybody's able to get on the Sunday and the Monday call. So does that had a lot to do with how all this brought about?
I believe it has everything to do with it, Lamont. And the reason I believe it has everything to do with it is because what has taken place is this. We can all gather in any place physically. And as Barbara said, we came together periodically. However, What takes place now is something very different. All of the energy, all of the desire that we have has been combined at one time. The impact of what we teach, the impact of the question that's raised, the impact of the energy that flows is different. It does not flow on Saturday and then we get with a group for the flow on Sunday and then a group on Monday. It flows continuously. And the reason I do believe that it flows on the weekends is because Saturday is the 8th day. Sunday is the beginning of the week. And Monday is a period that we have more questions than any other time. So that tells me that the day of worship for a lot of people on Saturday and the day that people worship on Sunday, we are the guardians of the earth so that these religious antics can be kept in check until such time that balance is reached. And the clarity that comes on Mondays is to clarify not only who we are, but we have so many questions because it gives us an opportunity to get clarity about how the energy is flowing and get clarity about what has been taught and the things that have penetrated our hearts that we want answers to. Especially when the questions come from those who are not facilitators, the ones who are on this phone, the ones who's on Zoom. When those questions come, they are beneficial and it prepares us for what is to come that next Saturday. And Saturday, Sunday, Monday gives us the power to walk through this week with an understanding that we are Elohim and that we are the essence of peace and loving kindness. So yes, the pandemic did that. And I do believe that it was orchestrated by our Creator so that we would become more confident in who we are, so that we would be more comfortable with saying we are Elohim and understanding our responsibilities, more comfortable, not with each other, because we've been comfortable with each other, but more comfortable with ourselves. Thank you.
Pastor, this is
Is that-
Kathy. I have a question. For those of us who need for you to refresh our memory, tell me again how Saturday is the 8th day. Would you please?
I said, yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. I meant the 7th day. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, maybe you taught that and I've forgotten.
I'm confused.
Okay, but you meant the 7th day. Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you for bringing that up, though. I really do, because I misspoke, okay?
All right, thank you.
That's one of the things I want to go back to, since you brought up the comfort of us feeling comfortable with ourselves. I'm going to go back to just, this is another part of the healing that we talked about. So the one thing with the pandemic, religion has found out that the buildings have to have people in them. And we're finding out that our connection grows stronger. And the reason I bring that up is this: when you just look at everything that A says, the healing, one of the biggest healings, or the initial healing that had to take place within each individual person, is the feeling of not feeling worthy. And I say that when you go to church, before we became to the awareness we are now, when you go to church, or we went to church, when you went, it was all directed at negativity. Everything was directed at your negativity to make you feel that you needed a certain worthiness to walk in that door in that building, and you were directed on your negativity. Find third party or external God to help you to become worthy. And you always struggle with different negativity or roadblocks you perceive in your life. What we're saying now, and we're at to understand that the awareness that we have is first healing yourself from all that negativity of not being worthy, and then understand that everything emanates from within us. And so you're directed towards the positive energy that's inside of you to combat the negative, which helps you stimulate growth, which helps you grow versus being forced in from a sense of negativity to feeling unworthy. So when we talked about the early healing, that's part of that healing too, that you understand that for how many years, whatever you were told that you weren't worthy to do something, well, there's a certain healing that takes place there, and where you become comfortable with who you are and accepting that identity. And now you see the flip side. It's, well, okay, we're going to give you so much positivity that when the negative situation arises, we embrace it because of who we are, versus being forced into praying for something because you were forced to acknowledge all that negativity and not being worthy. So I just wanted to show the difference of, that's why buildings now in a religious setting need people to come in, because the buildings have to be made worthy or felt worthy because of, and so now I think more people are sitting back and they're understanding, or they're searching for that energy that's directed in that direction of understanding who they are, versus because now they don't have to go somewhere and have someone beating up with negativity all the time. And it's the positive energy that you're given first that allows you to embrace what you perceive as negative, but then you understand it's your growth. So that's one of the other aspects of the healing I want to just help everybody understand, that, as each individual moves forward, you're healing yourself from also that feeling of not being worthy, and getting beyond that so that you can recognize who you truly are. That's what I wanted to add to that. If any thoughts or comments on that?
ST, this is Charles again. It's about like these storms and stuff be coming. Say what?
Oh, go ahead, Charles.
Anyway, it's just like these storms and stuff be coming, and they be almost all the way down in low part of the state, all the way up to top part of the state. And they be moving real rapid, and they be saying, news be hyping it up, making it so bad. But I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, something have me saying, it's gonna break up before you get to South Carolina. And it did, and then it formed itself back together again when it went around South Carolina from down close to the water, and all the other people got towed up. And I'm thinking, it's something about that. You understand what I'm saying? It happened twice. Because one was back to back of the other. And the same thing happened again. I said, it's going to break up before we do anything in South Carolina. And it did. But anytime you see height, and they trying to make you feel scared and there's nothing that you can do or nothing you can say or anything you can feel. They hype everything up to make everyone just don't say nothing. Don't feel nothing. And that's why the storm does what it does.
You're just talking about the motivating people through fear and unworthiness.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's a lot of different things that we can be aware of with different storms too, because I think each storm that came through had its purpose, and each one had a different, if you look at everything that was going on around the time when each storm came through, I'm sure each storm had a purpose. It could be one of the distractions on one end, but it could also be an enlightenment on the other end of it, an awareness that, when one storm came through, it may have helped the region, and when another one came through, it may have, done so. It just kind of like it came through and served its purpose. And so when we look back over it now, we can embrace the fact that, okay, each one had its purpose. And of course, we got Kathy on the lines when it comes to like dealing with certain storms and things like that. But it's the awareness that's attached to it as well that we are we are embracing. And I just wanted to go back to that. I mean, like, you think about, you motivate someone with negativity and fear. How do you end up finding who you are within that? You try to manage and cope with the negativity and fear. How do you deal with it instead of the internal Charles? If you're dealing with the negativity and fear, that's your motivation. On the flip side, motivation should just be to go back to the beginning in ourselves and find out who we are. And that's the one biggest, hurdle in healing that, and what I looked at earlier that has to take place. We have to look at that unworthiness and ritualistic mentality that you have to be healed from initially, because that can creep into, to a mind of giving you doubt. And so that's one of the initial healings that I talked about when you look at the damage that religion has done or certain things have done to us, because you're always told from a negative standpoint what you have to do to avoid more negativity, where we're saying now that we're Elohim, there's a certain amount of power that comes with that. And when things approach us that are perceived negative, embrace them, understand what you can grow from. And it's a big difference. It's a paradigm shift that has happened. And I think being home from the pandemic and not walking into buildings and being told you're not worthy has helped people to begin to desire change within themselves, because they've gotten a break from the negativity and the fear. And so that's what I was stating earlier. To any other thoughts, what Charles said on that, or anyone other questions on that?
I think the pandemic opened people's eyes, and I believe that the people in those buildings felt panic in the leadership. The leadership was panicking because the people were not coming to the building? Nope. Was the leadership panicking because they didn't have people to preach to? Nope. The panic came from the lack of being able to raise money. And one of the main things that happened, they began to explore different methods. And for many of them, streaming on Facebook worked fine, but it was not getting any money. So they started having people to drive in, having drive-in services. And people would blow their horn when they want to say amen. However, there was another method of making sure they get the money. because they had people walking around to cars collecting the money. When you are committed, if the money comes, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Because you know that the universe takes care of you. The pandemic has brought us closer than we have ever been. The pandemic, as I said, opened the eyes of some people. And there are a lot of people who are refusing to return to the building because they have experienced the inept leadership that they have been under. I don't understand why some keep going, because if you believe that what's being delivered from your leadership is not of God, is not in line with the scriptures, I should say, that should be a problem that causes you to seek to eat someplace else. The pandemic has done a lot in that. It also brought me to a place of saying some things I would not say, like my deepest desire is for the eyes of people to be opened so that they are able to deal with their feelings, their experiences, and see that what they are seeking spiritually is totally different than what they are receiving. So it would not surprise me if some of those doors close forever. Thank you.
Hey, yes, this is Ron. I look at the last couple of years quite frequently, actually, and really thankful for them. And a lot has happened to families and people and businesses, and it hurts my heart that I'm looking at the news and rent has gone up and housing going up crazy, and I see those things and I'm really concerned about them. I also, though, appreciate what we have gone through in the last couple of years. One of the things I remember immediately, and with the way we're studying now, going online or through the phone, was it seemed to increase the sharpness of my hearing. I could hear better. I could hear what people were saying and got meaning from it. And I agree with Pastor. Although we knew each other, the closeness and the bond that we've gained from this, I think we've also, without maybe realizing it, the closeness that we've grown to each other has also brought us into oneness with the universe, with our Creator. And I love the feeling. I love the energy. I understand, and I'm aware more now of what energy feels like, and what, just from these encounters over the phone. And that's just not from the people talking. The people that never say anything do not understand that they are the guiders of a lot of the conversations, because we're not setting up a script. We're not even a lot of times looking in the book, in the Bible. we're just speaking what comes to our hearts, and that's what's on the hearts of man. That's on the parts of the people. So, I'm grateful for that. I feel all of that. So when we talk about this, and you talk about the healing, and you talk about success being enlightenment, and the constant commitment to change, and I think that's what where we are right now. That's what we're experiencing, and I'm enjoying this. And the distractions are real, and sometimes even a bit overwhelming. Like for example, today I caught myself being a little angry, and I just stopped and asked myself, why are you angry? There's absolutely nothing for you to be angry about. And then I thought, well, maybe it's not your anger. Maybe it's something else. Just take a deep breath and just let it go. Just let it pass, And pretty soon I was thinking about something else. But that hasn't always been something I was able to do. Just kind of let things pass like that. But so I appreciate the lesson. I appreciate the wisdom and the understanding and the awareness that we're gaining and just where we are right now. So thank you for your lesson, and I just want to add that based on what you were saying when you were talking about failures, and we're experiencing a lot of things, and all of it is part of growth. So thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's the expansion. And I mean, it's, it goes back to what Pastor said. It depends on how you react to it and how you respond initially. And we all got scars and things that, you can get stuck on sometimes, but don't stay there. And then just like when he gave the example of the things he's been through and went through, and that's us connecting and tapping into that energy too of how he got through that to help us at the beginning time. So, I think early on in the lesson we were figuring out a way to change the word tap into with some now. I think the appropriate thing is I observe how somebody uses their energy to get through a certain situation, and that allows me to see that person demonstrating their power and how they use their energy. And so connecting to that same energy sometimes is how we move beyond a place of being stuck. So that's how we utilize everyone around us and the connections we have made around us too as well. So sometimes it's just a matter of observing their use of particular energy and how they use that energy and utilizing that same energy to move beyond. So it makes more sense now, more clarity from where we began using the word tapped into, where now we can get a clearer understanding of how they use that energy to move beyond it, because we use it in a way that's beneficial to us. But when you get stuck, you may not know how to use it, but then seeing someone else demonstrate it and use it. So that's when you said that now, that's just another better term of saying that versus tap into. I appreciate it. And any other questions or comments?
Before we go, Pastor, could you refresh our memories, well, at least mine, about Saturday being the seventh day, please?
Yes. Saturday is the seventh day in terms of stepping away from your activities during the week in order to remind yourself of who you are, to remind yourself of the Creator. Before I understood who I am, Saturday was the day, to me, the day of worship. And now I see it as the day of worship in a different light. It's the day that we remind ourselves rather to be submissive to who we were created to be. Worship means to submit, to remind ourselves whose image we are created in. However, it is my belief that we do that every single day now. And the reason I was there at the seventh day is because on the seventh day, the scripture says he rested. Sabbath, Sabbath. It's Saturday, not Sunday. That's how I came to Saturday being the seventh day. And worship was always at the end of the week and not at the beginning of the week. The reason it is at the beginning of the week is because it was instituted by pagans. It was instituted by manipulators. And it was instituted as the day of worship by the Catholics, adopted by all of the other Protestant religions that grew out of Catholicism. It was implemented because of Constantine. He was a sun worshiper. And that's why they chose Sunday as the first day, as the day of worship, rather. So I hope that answers your question, Jackie.
It does. Thank you.
I don't know anything. All right. Anyone else? Yes.
Well, I definitely actually I learned a lot tonight. Yeah, it was just going back and forth and talking. So yeah, everybody goes through the course of their week, just sort of reflect on what we said tonight, and I hope it helps. And no more questions or comments. We can put a pin in it till this weekend, but still connected.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Before we leave, I have a question for anyone who was on the line yesterday. The lady woman used scripture to talk about racism. Does anybody remember what scripture she used?
Saturday.
Yesterday.
What was it?
Yesterday.
On the Zoom call that the teachers were on.
Slaves obey your pastor. Obey your master. The writings of Paul was one of
them. It wasn't Paul. What? Who mentioned? She mentioned one of the prophets that separated or divided the people, and she saw it as racism. And I want to look at.
She went in and were told by God to slay all the people.
Who was it? Who was it?
And Joshua. And she referenced that as being racist because they were a different race, which was not the case, in that there was no such thing as race, and it was based upon those who sought to create their own creator or their own God. I didn't get into it, but I see that rather as a message in speaking with the death of religion. And it must be thorough when we bring it to its end. I don't see that as talking about we are supposed to physically kill people I see it as simply rising above the desires to create our own God, because religion has done that. Religion has created. So anyway, that's how I see it.
Okay, I just want to look at that, see what she was talking about. She seemed it seemed like it brought about some emotion with her,
It did.
and I was just yeah.
But this is
Yeah,
the thing, that people who literally read the Bible according to the sages are literally fools. That's the sages' words, not mine. Because though every word in the scriptures are spiritual, every word is spiritual, I'm sorry. And if every word is spiritual, then it's delivering a spiritual message to us. And that is the reason the names fit the actions that the people were engaged in, because they are spiritual messages to those of us who are in existence now and before we were in existence. Okay? Does that help?
yeah, it does.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, y'all.
Everybody have a good one. You too.
With you later. Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Okay,
Bye,
thank you.